Wonderful. All right. Well, welcome everybody to Single to Shaadi's Women's Month panel. Today, we're going to be discussing power, partnership, and peace. And we have an amazing lineup of women here to share kind of their advice, their expertise, and how to kind of bring more power and peace into your partnerships, whatever they may look like. So we'll do a quick introductions and then we'll jump into the meat of what we're here to talk about. So today we're just going to have an honest conversation about love, identity, and partnership. And for those of you who don't know, I am Radha Patel of Single to Shaadi. We are a modern matchmaking organization. We basically do matchmaking events, coaching, really to help people on their journey from single to shadi by taking what was lacking in the modern dating landscape and redefining what is deemed culturally appropriate. Single to Shadi is now the largest go-to dating and relationship platform in North America. And we've worked directly with thousands of clients and impact the dating lives of so many more. One of the ways that we do that is by hosting these events where you guys can also hear from other experts that are in our orbit and work with Single to Shadi and get different perspectives and just learn a little bit more as you are on your journey, wherever that may take you. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of our panelists. We're going to dive into some big topics that we have, but I do want this to be an open discussion as the panelists are kind of giving their views and opinions on what we were discussing. If you have questions, please do put them in the chat. If you're brave enough, you're welcome to come on camera and ask your question directly. Or if you want to wait until the end, we're going to have a live Q&A where you can ask directly to the panelists or myself or whoever you want. And then we'll kind of just, recap everything that we learned today. All right, so without further ado, I would love to introduce our amazing panelists. First up, we have Vaidehi Patel. She is part of the Single to Shadi family, is the host of Chai and Chemistry, one of our podcast shows, where she creates space for honest conversations of compatibility, modern South Asian dating, and relationship dynamics. She is known for her thoughtful and relatable approach. She brings curiosity and candor to discussions around attraction, expectations, and partnership. Welcome, Vaidehi.
Thanks for having me, Radha.
Next up, we have Payal Patel, a licensed marriage and family therapist who specializes in supporting South Asian individuals who are navigating relationships, attachment patterns, family expectations, and emotional well-being. Her work blends clinical insight with cultural awareness, helping women build healthier boundaries, process relational wounds, and choose partners from clarity rather than conditioning. Welcome, Payal.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Satana Selvam. She is the founder of Mango Jungle. She is a certified hypnotherapist who is a creative entrepreneur and helps women rewire subconscious beliefs, rewrite internal narratives, and align their mindset with the love and life they truly desire. Through storytelling, mindset transformation, and subconscious healing, she bridges culture, identity, and emotional growth in powerful ways. So welcome panelists, welcome Satna. And myself, I am Radha Patel. I'm the founder of Single to Shadi. I've noticed over the years many common themes that just coming up within my social circle and my family about not only why their interactions weren't going well, but they wanted something more meaningful. People want to get married, but the current climate of swiping is just hindering people from finding real relationships. So I encourage you all to kind of get to know me, even outside of this workshop. Definitely sign up for our newsletters and social media, and maybe together we can find a match that will love, empower, support, and embrace you. We're here to help because we know the dating is hard and dating within a community is even harder. Okay, so before we dive into the topic here, I want to just take a minute to ask our amazing panelists today to kind of talk about themselves as well, to introduce themselves a little bit more deeper, and then give us your thought on what power and partnership means to you. Bile, would you like to start?
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm Bile. I am a licensed marriage family therapist in New Jersey and North Carolina. I work with couples who are trying to learn how to communicate better, work through some of the generational trauma, attachment wounds, other things like infidelity, overall just trying to build a healthier relationship with their partner, with their partner to, I guess, like break through some of the things that we've been taught from our families about what marriage and relationships are supposed to be. And then when it comes to power and partnership, I think what's important when we're talking about that is just knowing that it's just believing to stay true to like what your values and beliefs sort of are, and just not allowing that to kind of take away from your identity, especially when you're in a relationship, because I think a lot of times we just get caught up in relationships and just forget like what our core values are, what our boundaries are, what respect really means to us. And so I think that when you have agency over your life, then some of those things never really go away, especially when it comes to partnerships. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Safina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Sadhana. Nice to meet everyone here. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and I live in Ventura, California. My family is from Tamil Nadu, India. So my family immigrated from Tamil Nadu to Ireland to the US. I was born here in the US. And I help clients with, relationship issues, anxiety, grief, PTSD, and finding love. Um, I think that one of my values in the work that I do is really why I do the work that I do is when I was doing therapy in the US, I felt like my white therapist just didn't understand a lot of what I was going through, and I felt like I was giving a history lesson instead of receiving a therapy session. So a lot of my work is about accommodating to South Asians and Black Indigenous people of color and people that are LGBTQ plus and people from the marginalized communities. I would say power and partnership to me, really looks like not losing yourself in the relationship and just staying authentic to who you are. Um,
Thank you. And Vaidehi.
Hi everyone, so glad to be here again, Radha. As Radha mentioned, as a part of the Single to Shaadi community, I have my podcast. So I guess I'm a podcaster now, which is crazy to think and say that out loud because it's only been one season. But my day-to-day job is in tech, and I frequent hosting singles events on the weekends, and then also doing my podcast as just an avenue to share my personal experience of dating and growing up in America. And I just wanted to be a voice for people like me that couldn't find someone to relate to and just be candid as possible. I've realized that, when I do release episodes, people reach out to me and say how that they were able to relate. And there's this fine line of folks that grew up here as immigrants and then they weren't necessarily born and raised in the US from the beginning. And then there was like a gap of growing up in America and living this two culture, I don't want to say system, but yeah, lifestyle. And so just have this niche podcast, and I love to talk about Chicago. So I'm based out of Chicago. My background is Gujarati. And so, yeah, we like to keep it as open as we can, but we bring it back to dating. And I love to talk about a lot of different topics because just doing one thing has never been my thing. So that's a little bit about my work. Also, to your question, power and partnerships. I see this one a little bit differently, and I don't know if Radha meant for this, but I think between a partnership, like having a partner and understanding that you still have your independence and that you could increase your power, or as a couple, everyone loves to talk about a power couple, and it's a symbiotic relationship. I feel like if you are in the right partnership, you kind of balance each other out, and so where you can grow and learn from the other person, but stay true to who your self-worth, like the other two ladies that said your self-worth, and making sure that you don't lose your focus and are very secure with yourself. And I feel like a lot of people, when they're intentionally dating, usually remain in their power and don't lose that amongst other things and actually grow, because as a relationship takes a lot of turns. I think one of the things that I look for is I want a partner that's going to make me better. And, I don't ever want to diminish my own light. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, panelists, for sharing who you are. We do have all of their contact information and we'll share it towards the end as well. And we'll also send this presentation out. So if anybody would like to reach out to any of our panelists today to follow up on maybe what we talked about here or in their professional capacities and ways that they can help you in your own power and partnership journey, we'll definitely share that with you guys. So to kick things off, We have broken this up into five overarching topics. We're going to kind of guide the discussion. But if anybody at any time would like to join in, please definitely send your questions in the chat. Or if you want to come on video and ask directly, that's fine as well. And then at the end, we are going to hold space for Q&A so that everybody has a chance to kind of have their voice heard and maybe get their questions answered. So, our first big topic here is the topic of independence versus emotional availability. We talked about being modern women. All of you ladies are so accomplished and amazing professionals in your own right. That shows that independence that you have when it comes to your financial stability, leading making decisions of your own lives. But when it comes to romantic connection, sometimes the I word is a dirty word. Being independent, it can be seen as negative. So I wanted to ask you guys, how does being independent in your day-to-day or professional life impact when it comes to connections? We can start in reverse order, so maybe we can start with Vaidehi, but something like, is there a line between healthy independence and emotional unavailability?
Yeah, that's a tough question, but I'm going to try to take a stab at it. As my colleagues here are both in that therapy space, I, as someone, who understood that hyper independence and being very independent was a trauma response just a couple of years ago, and a lot of people still don't know that it takes a lot to navigate out of that space. And when I'm looking for a relationship, I feel like sometimes just having had relationships that didn't work out or situations where you aren't able to lean on your partner or trust them, I think you really quickly move into just a very independent and shut yourself off from the world. And I think I've done that myself. I'm a victim of it. And it took me a long time to understand that with the right partner, if I feel safe, that's number one. If I feel I can trust them, if I feel like they're taking care of the things that I normally take care of on a day-to-day basis, then that easily pulls me out of it. It's happened with the right folks that I've dated. It's happened in the past where sometimes, it is dependent on that person and how on, and I still love to go on tangents as well. But once I went on a date, and I think it was said like the first time you meet someone, you treat them how you want. I don't know how to phrase it, but essentially people treat you the way that they want to be treated, and then they start to treat you how you treat them. Like, I don't remember, maybe the girls on the panel could tell
Yeah.
me, but essentially, yeah. And after the first time you meet them, I feel like you learn to kind of, it's a dance. I always talk about dating as a dance. And so everything is a little bit reactive. And so that's, it needs to start off on the right foot. And I think as a person in the dating space, a lot of my algorithm goes in back and forth on this, like, am I going to find a relationship? I just saw one the other day where someone was 27 years old. They've never been in a relationship. And it was like this stranger on the street called them out for being very much in their masculine. And a lot of us thrive in that because we are working women. We have been taking care of ourselves. We have had a lot of extra responsibilities on our plate. That I hate to say it, but a lot of the BS that comes your way from guys is just, it's not going to do it for me. Like, and it is tough because I know the times that when I've been on a date, and they try to open the door for you, or they try to do some of the things, like you have to like retrain yourself slowly, and you can easily get jaded. And some of the times that I do that is I have to remind myself before I'm dating someone, just give them the best chance. You've been like this for a very long time, but I think every time you get a one step closer with just practice.
Yeah, dating. That's what I say. It's not a dirty word, right? I know we're all looking to date intentionally to be married, but you still have to go on the dates in order to do that. Yeah. Savana, do you ever see women who unintentionally build walls, maybe even subconsciously, in a way so that they can protect their peace, so they know that I'm not going to get hurt if I act in a certain way?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's normal actually to build a wall to be like, I'm just going to protect my peace just in case, like, because you don't want to get hurt. But then sometimes if your walls are too rigid or, there's not a door for anyone to come in, then you end up isolating yourself. And I think, especially in the dating space right now, there's a lot of talk about self-love, and which is great. I think we should all love ourselves. But then when self-love becomes self-isolation, that's when we end up right? Isolating ourselves, and that can kind of breed anxiety or depression. Um, and that can cause a host of a lot of other issues. Even toxic relationships, right, happen often when we are isolated as well. And I don't think it's like they mean to build the walls, but then it can just be like, oh, I'm protecting my peace. But then that causes a different type of chaos in your life. Definitely.
Yeah. And Violet, how can women stay open to love without feeling like they're losing control or they're giving up their independence?
Yeah, that's a good question too, because hyper independence is another word that's been like thrown around all the time too. And I don't think a lot of people actually understand what hyper independence is. But like, I think to tag team on what everyone else has been saying, dating is a mirror to yourself. And so like when you're dating, like you're not only just going to learn about somebody else, but you're also learning about yourself too, right? Like who am I like in this on this date? Like what do I like about myself? What do I not like about myself? And so like when you're allowing yourself to fully be authentic and just show up vulnerable in front of somebody that you're getting to know, I think that's just allowing like you to kind of put the like independent piece of you sort of not essentially to the side, but like it's like, okay, right here I can just show up in the way that I am and just like see what happens for me. Because I think what I'm seeing a lot is that like women, unfortunately, because of the things that we've gone through, the experiences that we've had with most men, we're much more guarded. So I don't know if it's necessarily the protecting our peace, but we're just guarded because we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to go through that bullshit all over again where like we're opening up, trying to get to know someone, and then like we get ghosted or like they're not able to be empathetic or communicate with us, right? And so it's not, we're not wrong for wanting to be a little bit more guarded. But I think if we're going in with the intention, like if we're going in with the intention of dating and we're showing up guarded, it's not really going to get us anywhere. We're not going to really authentically be able to date and really get to know somebody, get to know ourselves because we're already like almost futuristically, almost like deciding for ourselves, this is not going to work because this person is going to do this or this person is going to treat me this way. So I think that we also kind of have to allow ourselves to let somebody either show us that they could be different, show us that they're capable of having conversations or communication or being authentic. And if we don't really do that, we don't allow the space for that, then it becomes really hard to kind of, formulate what healthy dating is even supposed to be. And you're just going to find yourself doing that over and over again in all the dates that you're going to go on or any other relationship that you're going to be on. Being
Yeah. And this is an open question for anybody in the panel, but audience member Anjali said, to your point, she wants to know how can we as women expand on our vulnerability to speak up about our needs? And I think
um
this, I'll just say, like, with us being so independent, we never had the ability to maybe share our needs and feelings. So when it comes to wanting that in a partner, but then not actually being able to do that, that's that disconnect.
Yeah, and I think that that's also something that a lot of South Asian women have grown up with because we never really also had the space to be able to be authentic with our feelings. And so then we find ourselves in these partnerships wanting, men who are open with their feelings or in tune with like with their emotions and can be vulnerable and be empathetic, but like we don't know always how to ask for that because if we're asking for that, it almost feels like it's too much, right? And so one of the things that I always say is again, dating is a mirror of yourself, of course, but like I think going through therapy too is also really helpful. Like if you've been through your fair share of unhealthy relationships, even if it's friendships, like there's always topics that kind of like correlate in both platonic relationships and romantic relationships. I think really working through some of those things to figure out how you can speak up for yourself, how you can build those boundaries, why vulnerability is so difficult for you, what you're fearful of when it comes to being vulnerable with anybody, whether it's a partner or whether it's even a friend or a family member. I think those things are probably really, really important.
Yeah. I think there's also this sense of like for me, I think it was kind of intimidating being vulnerable with a boy at first because I was like especially like in middle school, high school, like I was never allowed to date. I don't know if anyone else has that experience, but I think for most South Asian
Mhm.
women, it's like dating boys, absolutely not. And so for me, it was a lot easier to practice vulnerability and speaking up about my needs with friends first, then to do it with like a boy. I mean, a
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
I think
But
it's just because there's a lot of safety in that.
yes.
Right? Like you're so vulnerable and safe with your friends that like you're not worried about them like judging you. You're not worried that they're gonna hurt your feelings. Like we can just show up authentically and like be the version of ourselves that we already are. But when it comes to like a romantic partner, it's really difficult because you don't know if one, they have the capacity to understand where I'm coming from and what I'm saying and what I need from them. And I think with friends, it just kind of happens so naturally. Sorry, I didn't
Definitely.
cut you off, Safina.
No, no, you're good. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I also think I think especially as women and South Asian women, like when you speak up a lot of times in households, it's like you're asking for too much, you need too much. And when I did it with friends, it was a lot like it felt like it was my needs were honored. And then I felt like that became the baseline of what I would expect in my relationships with men.
Yeah, I think also to add, I just think we need to start somewhere, right? Like I feel like even if you need to practice in front of a mirror or tell someone, tell a stranger at a bar that you are not getting hurt at home, like I think eventually you get to a point where, I've seen it in my friends or family members where like you all said that sometimes as South Asian women, your needs are kind of pushed to the side, and then you get to a breaking point. And like we want to avoid where you get to that breaking point, kind of just wreck, like havoc amongst everyone in the house. And then we've all seen it with our moms who weren't able to regulate their emotions appropriately, who weren't able to, seek therapy for random reasons. And we kind of saw them at their wits' end, and where they exploded on us. And it's like, we want to be sure that you have a great support system, but you also have to start somewhere to, even if it's that one friend you go to call, or if you, even if you are able to seek therapy, have the resources for that, like, or say it in the mirror and say, like, this is not okay. I need to do something. I think recognition is part one, and then part two is making a plan for it and figuring out, like, yeah, this isn't good for me. And I know that this caused me to go and spiral. So I'm going to now do A, B, and C. And so somehow that helps. It's sometimes me being a little bit black and white in the tech world, but that's that's how I do it.
I think also vulnerability is a lot of safety, just like wanting to feel like if I'm going to share something and open up, then like clearly I need to make sure that it's like a safe and emotionally safe environment for me to want to do that. And that's which is why I think it's easier to do that with your friends because they just naturally give you that safety. But I think in partnerships that can be really difficult, especially if you've been unmet with empathy or if you've not been met with your partner like authentically listening to you or giving you their presence, to feel heard, to feel understood, and to even feel comforted. And so I think that's why a lot of women also struggle in partnerships when they're trying to be vulnerable or share, what they're feeling, because at times I think partners can come back and say, well, you're just nagging or you're just being about things that like, you shouldn't be. And it kind of minimizes like our vulnerability and our attempts to try to connect with our partners because vulnerability is also a form of connection.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, ladies. Let's move on to our second topic here. Next, I want to start talking about subconscious patterns and when it comes to attraction. We often say that, hey, I want one thing. We've got the checklist going. I know exactly, like, I deal with clients who have written this down, they've done the exercise. And then when I show them an actual profile, it goes out the window. A pretty face can change a lot of things, right? That attraction piece can really, and I know I see this much more in men, but I think women also, and maybe it's not necessarily like physical attraction, but they might see that, oh, he seems to have a good career, or he's tall. Maybe I can let go of some of the more emotional things that I needed, or more the personality traits that I needed, and I still want to meet and match with him. So when it comes to staying one thing, but then acting another way in terms of attraction, let's start with Adna. What role do subconscious beliefs play in who we're actually attracted to?
For sure. So, our subconscious mind makes up 95% of our mind, and the other 5% is our conscious mind. So, when it comes to love and who we're attracted to, the subconscious always goes back to what is familiar to us. So, if as a kid, what is familiar to you was in order to be loved, I have to be perfect, or in order, like, love has to be earned, or maybe love in your household was just pure chaos. Maybe there was a lot of chaos in your household. The subconscious always goes back to what's familiar. So the subconscious definitely plays a big role in who we're attracted to, even if we've done kind of the mindset work. And of course, I wouldn't be attracted to this person who does these toxic things, or but if that's what is familiar to the subconscious, you might be more inclined to those things. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And about why do so many women find themselves in repeating patterns with very similar types of partners? Like we just keep on getting attracted to, or our picker is stuck on something.
Yeah, I think that goes right back to comfort and just being familiar. Like, this is all I've known, or this is what I know. And so it's easier to kind of fall back into those patterns. But I also think, again, if like you're not really doing the work on yourself and figuring out like what you liked about yourself, what you didn't like about yourself, what your boundaries were, where your values were, what this person was like, and you didn't like about them, like you're always going to repeat the same thing over and over again. Right. And so it's almost like a form of tolerance, if that makes sense. Like you just end up tolerating the same type of partner that you keep running into because you haven't really learned anything different. And I think, Satana, when you were talking just a little bit about like what our beliefs were when growing up and like what we witnessed, that brings me back to attachment theory in general. So like for those of you guys who don't know about attachment theory, essentially like our relationships get shaped by our primary caregivers as we were growing up. So if our primary caregivers were like mom and dad, we're witnessing their relationship, and that's how we're going to relate to other relationships as we're getting older. So like if we watched, like mom be submissive and like dad have more dominance and things like that, like that's kind of what you'll look for in relationships. If you've noticed that if you grew up with parents where like there wasn't really affection involved, if there was not a lot of communication involved, that might be something that just feels so familiar that this is how it's supposed to be, or this is just like what's normal in relationships. So I think comfort and familiarity is something that is probably that pops up often for a lot of women who are trying to date.
Hmm. And Vaidehi, how can someone begin to shift their attraction towards more healthier dynamics, or recognize that, hey, maybe I'm doing the same thing again. Let me try something different?
Absolutely. I feel like you have to do like what Pyle said, you have to do the work. When you're actually dating, I haven't done it in a while, but I would actually put it down on an Excel document of what I really enjoyed about this person. And something that was, I hate to use the red flags. I feel like we all have some of them. It's subjective, but what's like, what was a point of concern for you? And then kind of stay true to that. I think you always have to be intentional, but you also have to start from as secure of a spot as you can. I mean, you can grow into that, but you have to be pretty level-headed to be like, okay, yeah, I need an emotionally available person, but if I'm only going to chase this person that's society glorifies, that's really good looking and emotionally unavailable, then, you're kind of steering away from that. And having good friends, having a good support system to not everyone has to do this, but sometimes people like to run their partner by their friends or introduce them. One of my friends says she will always, before calling it exclusive, she will always have her friends meet her partner or someone she wants to date, because sometimes you get a curtain and you can't see past everything that they're telling you. Maybe you did look past a few things. And so you just have to have a really, again, those friends have to be really trusted, and you should take their opinions and their advice. Like they just can't be someone, that you feel like, oh yeah, they're saying this because they're jealous. No, like in a trusted environment, I feel like you can do the work and move past it. I feel like eventually my favorite thing to do is ask people that are in what I think is somewhat of a healthy relationship, or what, is presented to me, like, you guys are goals, right? Like, or just in general, how did you find each other? And also, what makes this work? And I feel like a lot of times it's just, I was down in my feelings and I had a lot going on in my times. And this is the one that picked it up for me. And that's what worked for me. He was the guy that I never thought I would have dated. This is the one that came in at the perfect storm. And 25 years later, he was the one that, is the father of my children that I wanted. Like it was not the normal guy that they chased, or the guy that they went to prom with, or the guy that they were in a toxic relationship with. There's always something else. And so like I try to remember that, and I try to tell people that, like, be open, you talked about lists, you talked about people coming with the agenda. It's great to have. It helps filter, but I feel like having a little bit of openness to dating is helpful for sure.
I also was gonna say too, like found that like a lot of people will just jump from one relationship to another relationship. So like there's not really enough time or like that gap to like really get to know yourself in between like the end of a relationship and then the start of a new one. And like that time is actually really crucial because you want to sit back and really reflect on the fact that like what the hell was I doing in this relationship? Like what did I like about myself? Why did I tolerate this? Like what didn't I like about this partner? What did I like about this partner? Because you can sort of like take those things and then like use that for the next relationship. So if I didn't like that this person was not empathetic, but they were, I don't know, physically affectionate, like I can take some of that and say in the next relationship, I need somebody who is whatever physically affectionate, but also empathetic, right? So like, and that I like that I was able to have fun and let loose and I wasn't so formulated on this checklist that I had that they have to be X, Y, and Z. But I think that people don't do that because they're just rushing to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and they're not really giving themselves that time to sit back and reflect on, like what they got out of that period that they were dating. And again, I'll say that I'm going to say this the whole time, but like dating really is a mirror of yourself, and the more that people understand that, the more that they'll be able to date intentionally because it's not really just about the other person. It's more so actually about you dating yourself and like recognizing like, how am I? Like, who am I? And how do I show up in these relationships?
Hmm. I agree. And I think like when you can take the time to really just be with yourself after and think like, okay, what was happening? Why was I in this relationship? Or what was the reason for being in this relationship in the first place, especially if it was unhealthy or toxic? Like I know for me, I was in an abusive relationship like 8 or 9 years ago in college. And for afterwards, when I was doing therapy with my therapist in India, she's a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist. When I was healing my subconscious mind, it made me realize, like, oh, so much of this goes back to my self-esteem and my self-worth and what I believe I'm deserving of. And so much of that was really created from the ages of 0 to 8, which is when your subconscious mind really is formed during that time. And also healing a lot of internalized wounds for me, like internalized societal wounds, like if you're someone who grew up in the US, I grew up in the US, but I grew up, I was born here, and then after 3 months, I was in India, and then kind of back and forth. But I think especially growing up here in the US in the 2000s, like there was a lot of like racism and stereotypes and like things like, oh, you're ugly or you're poop colored or you're a terrorist, especially after, 9/11. And so even internalizing those things really affected my self-esteem. And I think, the first person that was like, oh my gosh, like, you're beautiful, thinking like, oh my God, I am pretty, right? And now I'm like, actually, that person was not good for me. And but that was just like, and then healing my own self-esteem and knowing that, oh, I am worthy of healthy love, was something that really changed my life. And now I'm super picky about the partners I'm with, and I have that awareness. And also, not to mention, like, I didn't have any women to talk to about what was going on because I didn't have my mom to talk to. Because if I told my mom, she'd been like, dump him. Like, he's awful. Like, but that wasn't the case. And so even having this right now, like where we can talk with other South Asian women about what is healthy dating is huge.
Also, you know what I'm finding too, that a lot of like so like, there's like Facebook groups that they talk about like their relationships and things like that or their marriages. And I'm finding that like there's so much comparison almost like, and so they'll talk about like, oh, but like my husband does X, Y, and Z. Is it really that bad? Is it really that bad? And it's almost like they're looking for like validation that like it is that bad or it isn't that bad. And then you have other people commenting about like what their partners do. But there's always like this weird comparison because it's almost like you're trying to see, is it really that bad? Like, is there something that I need to do differently, or am I just like blowing this out of proportion? And I feel like that's the lack of community that was missing when we got into these relationships because our moms, our aunts, our grandmothers are probably unfortunately not going to be the right ones for the most part because they were taught to like just accept whatever was given. And so unfortunately we've kind of followed that, so many of us, and we're learning to get out of that, which is taking us a little bit longer, which is probably why we're finding ourselves in these repetitive patterns with these men over and over and over again because we're still trying to learn like how to undo what was essentially taught to us. So like the comparisons is almost like I'm trying to find a community to let me know that like, no, this is not okay, or this is not acceptable, or this is acceptable. And I think if you don't have the friends or you don't have the family members to help you do that, then you're always going to look for it in other avenues in whatever way that you can.
Definitely. Even like when you look at like the women before us, like even the women before me, like my mother, grandmother, like the majority of them were like when I asked them about their marriage, they're like, yeah, I didn't want to get married, but I didn't really have an option. And you're like,
Yeah.
that's so unhealthy. Like, can we talk about healthy consensual marriage? Like, and let's talk about like enthusiastic consent. Like,
Mhm.
the majority of the women in my family before my mother were married off in child marriage. And so like we're kind of like the first in our generation to be like breaking these generational wounds or curses. Uh, and so it's just like there's no blueprint for kind of what we're doing today.
Then the blueprint that they gave us was not necessarily the best one. So
No.
it's the one that's like just accept the bare minimum, if even that, but and then just go about that, which was great for them, maybe not even really, but like we're undoing that blueprint, and that's takes a lot of work, and we have to put ourselves through these experiences of dating, unfortunately, unhealthy men, to allow us to experience what healthy relationships or healthy love can look like. But I think that a lot of that really does go back to just starting like from us and us being able to recognize like what does healthy love mean to me? Like what does a healthy relationship look like to me? Am I a healthy partner? How do I become a healthy partner? Because these are also things that our mothers, grandmothers, aunts did, and also us themselves. They were just like thrown into these marriages, and then they were like, all right, cool, go ahead, function. Then after you become a wife,
Mhm.
then it's like, all right, like go ahead, function and become a mom. Like it's not like there's like a guidebook that was like teaching us essentially the right way of doing this. So I think there's a lot more pressure on our generation because we're doing so many different things all at once.
Definitely.
think
And I think even
part,
just
oh,
being
go ahead.
able, oh, sorry, even
No, no,
just
go
being
ahead.
able to communicate with our subconscious mind and just telling myself, like, okay, like I find men who don't communicate unattractive. I find men who are inconsistent unattractive. And just being able to rewire that and being like, actually, men who constantly who show up for me are attractive, or actually, men who communicate are and who are clear and direct are attractive. And so just being able to rewire that in my mind has been really helpful.
Ready?
I was just going to add on to Vile's point, but I feel like I think some of these experiences aren't isolated to South Asian women. I think everyone is trying to figure out
Mhm.
what a healthy relationship looks like. Not just myself in the Indian corner, but my friends from all different backgrounds. I think you get a lot of added pressure because if you only date South Asian men, there's other experiences and other things you have to also go through, and the expectations of marrying into a South Asian family, and undoing a lot of that. But I also think we get to formulate whatever this new blueprint is. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that. And I think you get to lean on each other. And unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of just doing this, seeing how it works, previous generations, next generations, and going from there. But I think what Sana said for sure is like we have to start to rewire our brain of like emotional availability is not it. And centering men is not it. You know, we have to live in our power. We have to walk really firmly in what we believe in, and then, see what comes our way. And I think a lot of the expectation is out the window of like, you don't have to get married. You don't have to have children. And that's a whole nother conversation that we could have about that entire thing. But um, we have a lot more independence. And I think not necessarily having the right information from our parents, or even if you never had siblings to talk to about this or older sisters, you don't see what that's like. And so the best thing we have is the internet. The best thing we have is a lot of resources at our fingertips these days.
Yeah. I think you ladies were kind of dancing around this next topic. So let's move on to chat a little bit about the cultural conditions and expectations when it comes to being in a relationship. We talked a little bit, I think Bio mentioned that we jump from relationship to relationship. We compare like what will people think in the community, right? This is all, and it's not just South Asian culture. I think there's a lot of other cultures that also, it's about timelines and fertility and where you fit into society, your role in society if you're not a married woman and things like that. So I think that being South Asian, though, we have our own unique version of this, and we're often navigating multiple identities at once. I'm the oldest daughter of an immigrant family, so I had to be very independent really quickly because I was learning along with my parents, right? We had to kind of teach each other how to navigate this new world even though I was a child. And I think that that is one identity, that independent identity of who you are at work so you can compete in what's a man's world. And then also that feminine identity of like, when I am at home with my partner, I want to be in my feminine. I want to be a wife. I want to be a mother. How can I lean into that without also being the one who runs everything and all? So, Val, I'll start with you on this question. How do cultural expectations shape how women show up in their dating and relationships?
You said me, right? Just want to make sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit about what I was saying just a little bit earlier, about what we were taught essentially, and that kind of just continues on as you become older, whether it's become a wife, a mom, or whatever it is, like just those expectations of like you have to adhere, I guess, like to like what was normal, learning how to balance like life, work, career, family, sort of all of that. I don't think that ever really goes away, to be honest. Like you could be like the most modern person ever, but I don't think that ever really goes away. Like even for me, I feel like I have a 3-year old and then I have a business and then I do this and that. And I'm just like, always like, hey, well, it's okay for me to just lounge on the couch for like 20 seconds and chill because I've been going at it 100 miles per hour. And when I sit on the couch, I'm like, crap, like I should not be doing this because my mom runs like 50 miles per hour when she's just doing this, this, and this. And I have to tell the lady, like, sit down. But I don't think that those things ever really go away. I think how you adjust them to what works for you is what's really important too, right? Like our culture is so ingrained in who we are. And so it's not a bad thing, but I think it's just like picking and choosing what you want to take and what you don't want to take. Because I'll find that a lot of South Asian women will end up becoming very submissive and caretakers for whether it's for their husbands or for their families in general. And so then they're overwhelmed and they're burnt out and they are not asking for help and they just keep pushing, 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 pushing without recognizing that they've already reached their limit. And so those are some of the things that come up pretty often. And so when we're talking about advocating for ourselves and just speaking up for ourselves, I think that is also something that has to be really important, in order for you to not feel so burnt out, so overwhelmed.
I want to jump in just from a dating perspective here. I also see there's the concept of the pick me girl who
Oh,
will show up in the beginning, like do everything what she thinks it's going to
yeah,
take to win the guy. And a lot of that is rooted in that cultural, right? Like I have to
yeah,
be demure, like my mom, this and that. And then once you're in the relationship, then the problems start coming up. And we go back to previous sections, but then it's not going to work. So being true to who you are up front and trying to find those qualities while you're dating is so important.
yeah. And that's the thing too, right? It's like, why do we have to be so like, why do I have to be in that pick me mentality? Like, if you want to pick me because of how I am. Like, why do I have to do all this extra work to like essentially show you that I'm good enough for you to pick me or for you to want to be in a relationship with me, right? Like, I already am good enough. But if I don't have that confidence or if I don't feel so secure in myself, I'm always going to be doing the extra mile or doing something extra that like somebody else wouldn't do, or maybe they would do, but like maybe not as often as I would. But I hate that mentality because it's kind of overwhelming, and exhausting too. Maybe I just want to chill. Maybe like I want to say I want to pick you. I don't know. Maybe not.
Women should pick their partners. I feel like a lot of
Right?
times, yeah, a lot of times they're usually like, well, I like them because they like me. But it's like, do you actually like them? Like
Yeah.
do they fit what you are looking for? And I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we always talk about this rather like they should love me more, but I should be the deciding factor at the end of the day because I always talk about like you get to pick this one person. Everyone else in your family is who you're born into that. And so like this one person that you could bring into your life is not to take this like as the most important decision, but it is the most important decision. So you get to be, I say you get to be picky. You get to, you know, look through as many people as you can to find this partner because you're gonna share like 20,000 meals with them. You're gonna go on so many trips with them. They're gonna be the father, mother of your children. And um, hopefully you don't overlook all these things and pick me because then you might be miserable in about 20 years.
I
These
think
are also
sooner than
things that
that.
like are. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Oh, I was gonna say these are also like we were talking a little bit about like cultural expectations too, but like these are also things that like we weren't taught to be important in relationships too, right? Like it's not like our moms or anybody really sat with us and said like, hey, like when you're looking for
Right.
a partner, make sure that they're good communicators, maybe make sure that they respect you, make sure that they're honest with you, they have integrity. Like these are not things that they just wanted to make sure that like they had a good job, they came from a good family, they were Gujarati, they were non-veg, you know what I mean? Like that, those are the things, those are the standards. And you look at those standards now and you look at what we are looking for, Like it is night and day. I don't give a shit if you eat like fish or beef or whatever. I'm looking for the fact if you have emotional capacity to hold space for me when I'm feeling exhausted, when I'm feeling burnt out. Like that's what I'm looking for. But I think even when you try to share that with like if I try to share that with my mom or like I try to share with my gaki or whatever, they're just like, oh, like you guys are just doing too much. Like we don't need to do all that. Like he just seems like a really nice guy. He comes from a really nice family. I'm like, great. Well, what is that going to get me like in 10 years from now when I'm like miserable because I'm burnt out or I'm miserable because I just went through a really shitty pregnancy or postpartum and like he's not doing anything to help me, right? Like those are the standards that they accepted because they didn't really have a choice. When we have a say in it, we're allowed to pick and choose who we kind of want to be in. Okay.
Definitely. And I think there's also the expectations of like marrying when you're at least in the South Asian community, like if you're Tamil, you marry someone Tamil, or if you're Guju, you marry someone Guju, or if you're, they have to be from the same religion or the same caste or from this very specific part of the land. And so marriage is definitely becomes something that's a collectivist thing where it's like the two families are coming together, but then everyone has an opinion. And so especially when you're not living in India. It's like, well, if you wanted me to marry someone from India, from the specific part of India, from the same everything, we should have just stayed in India. Like things are going to change when we're here, right? So, um, and then people having guilt, like whether maybe you're dating outside of South Asians or, um, just feeling like there kind of has to be like everyone was saying, like it's at the end of the day, it's your decision about who you date and who you marry because you're gonna have to live with them. And I think for our parents, it's like, oh, well, they're a good person, but it's like, yeah, but did you see how he texts? Like it's not who I want to be with, right? So like you're not gonna be with this person every day. I get that their parents are nice, but that's not enough. Um,
Riti, what are some inherited beliefs about love and marriage that might no longer serve us as modern women?
Some inherent beliefs, did you say?
Yeah, about what love should be or how marriage should be. Like, what are we told or we've seen that we think that that's how we need to show up?
Well, I think sometimes you're not even told that, right? That this is love and that can exist and you can date and things like that. But
I'll
I
say one
think
thing I heard a lot and I still hear is love comes after marriage. Love will come
exactly.
later. Didn't we
Mm,
hear that?
love that one. That's a great
Exactly.
one.
Um,
Give me something to look forward to.
but yeah, I think we start to shift that expectation of like, this me staying in my role as a caretaker in a home, what do they call it? The profession they give women in India, homemaker or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
housewife.
Housewife. It's like a literal profession on their actual documents. It's like we start to shift away from those stereotypical roles that were in this patriarchal society of India and say like, it doesn't in modern day it doesn't look like that. I work, you work, maybe I don't work, but I still take care of children. Like that's a recognized 8 hour commitment, maybe 12-hour commitment if you're going all day. Sometimes you take care of parents. Like I feel like, not just children and the modern American South Asian woman looks so different than it used to 20, 30 years ago. And so recognizing um, what your future could look like with your partner and kind of having that conversation early on is very important of like, the days that I am tired, you're going to have to help me do the dishes, or you're responsible for helping me cook 3 times a week because I'm going to be late from work. And I see that happening a lot in a lot of relationships that are, that generation before us, where they just have these things worked out. They have tiffin services. They figure out how to navigate this expectation because it's just not the reality anymore. Everybody works 8 to 12, with a commute, you're out of the house for 10 hours. And so understanding what that looks like, and just kind of shying away from some of those culture expectations.
I don't
I
think
don't
people
think I
actually know
answered
what
that one. Sorry, but yeah.
I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, I don't think that people I hate saying it, but I don't think that people actually know what healthy love really is, to be honest. And I say that because I I've been doing couples therapy for like 13 years. I don't think that people actually know what healthy love is because we weren't not, it's not only like we can't keep using the whole we weren't taught that. Yes, that's a part of it. We weren't taught that. But like that's also because most of marriages were arranged marriages. And so maybe love did essentially come after, or maybe it never did. But I think for us, like we come from a generation where even if we were not allowed to date, which most of us weren't, we were still doing it anyway. Like we were still out here trying to get to know people and like do all these things. So like I think that we're supposed to formulate what healthy love is supposed to be. And I don't think that's just necessarily like what healthy love is supposed to be from a partner, but it's also from us. Like how do I emulate what healthy love is? Is it just because I'm showing up for them, or is it because I'm empathetic, I'm able to hold them when they're having a vulnerable moment? Like I don't think that now a lot of people know what actually healthy love is, which is unfortunate. And I think sometimes that carries on into marriage as well too, because they think that marriage is supposed to be a 50-50 equal partnership. And the truth is that it's really not. Like there is going to be lots of times when you're married or even dating that like your partner might carry 60% of it and you're going to carry 40%. You're going to carry 80 and you're going to carry 20. Like it's always going to adjust and shift based off like what's going on in our current life. But I think that sometimes partners are not good at adjusting to that weight, and they think that it should always be 50-50, or they always think that, if I'm working and you're not working in your home, then you should be carrying most of the weight. So I think that really defining what love actually means in this relationship is really important. Like one of the questions I'll always ask couples is like, how do you like I'll ask them like how do you know that you love your partner, and they'll always say like, oh, because like he or she cooks for me, or like, mostly it's the men, they're like, oh, she cooks for me, she takes care of me, she does that, and it's like, well, that's great, but that's not showing that you love her. That just means that you love that she does shit for you. But like, what do you love about your wife? Like, why do you want to be with her? Like what about her makes you like love her? And that's where sometimes I come to these conclusions of people actually know what love even is supposed to be. Like, do people know what marriage is supposed to be? Because it's really a union about two people. It's not responsibilities that we're supposed to be doing and then just, building off of that.
Can I add on to that? So we might not been told what love is or taught what love is, but you know what we did have, speaking of culture?
Mm-hmm.
Bollywood. How much
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
Bollywood ruin our impression or like shape what we think love is supposed to be like
Yeah.
in very unhealthy ways?
Yeah. Yeah. Look at these like Bollywood actors. Like you're running through fields just to come to me, or going from like London to like Punjab to like just to like steal me from my family. You're putting in effort. You are doing the work and not just stealing me away, but you are putting in the effort to like show me that like you want to be with me. That does not exist. I mean, and maybe it does, but it's in rare forms. But like, yeah, I agree. That's probably a good way of romanticizing what love is supposed to be.
Yeah. I feel like I was watching Kuch Kuch Hote recently and I was
Mm.
like, wait, actually, Shah Rukh Khan is actually kind of a problem. Like, I definitely had a crush on him growing up, but it's actually in this movie.
Yeah.
And in
I
that
love
movie,
movies
Kajol
like,
does all the work. If you think about
yeah.
Yes!
it, right? Kajol
I
does
like
I
all
was
the
like,
work.
I
this
like
girl
movies like
put her life
Watch
on
Your
hold for
Dragon.
8 years to be with
Yes.
this man. And I was like, he should have just picked her first. Like, get it together. And
Yeah. And
Rani
he's
Mukherjee
only
said, like, she was like, oh, yeah, like at the beginning, I didn't catch this when I was a kid, but when she dies, she says that, sorry if anyone hasn't seen the movie, but
Spoiler alert.
when she's like, "Oh yeah, like I had this kid," he didn't know that she was gonna die if she had the kid, and she was like, "No, I'm having this kid because I literally just like wanted you to have the kid. Like I knew I was gonna die," and I was like, "So this girl literally died because of this dude?" And the other girl, like she had to wait 8 years for him. So
Mhm.
was he worth it? I mean, yeah.
We have an audience question. Supriya said, when is it realistic when it comes to being 50-50 financially? Because now people say chivalry is dead. Men don't want to invest that much because they are dating so much. And I've even had to pay for my own coffee on dates. It's
Mhm.
fine. I can buy it. But if it builds resentment later, how can one address this early
Mhm.
on?
First of all, why the hell you can't pay for your coffee? Like it's like $3. So like you can't pay for my
Yeah.
coffee. We all know that we can pay for our own coffee, but like, yeah. Um, that's a good question. I guess it depends on the people, like on the two people as well though too, right? Like if they're like, I mean, I don't know. I haven't dated in a really long time, guys. I'm probably the wrong person to ask here, but I don't know. I guess like maybe like when if you move in together and you're like sharing a space, or like you're sharing expenses, maybe then it becomes 50-50. I don't know. Do people do that before they move in together? I don't know. when people go on dates, like, is it always just expected that the guy's supposed to pay? Because I'll pay a lot of times too.
As a dating expert, here's my rule
Please.
of thumb. I think that, in order for a man to show intent and investment,
Yes.
they should be paying for the dates in the beginning. Now, women, we can't be using this as a free meal every night, but the man should that and there's so much more that women bring to the table in terms of looks, clothing, getting ready, all of that. So we are paying for it inadvertently in another way. And for men, it's just easier to do it financially. Now, once you're in a relationship, that is absolutely a right time to talk about 50-50. It still doesn't always have to be 50-50. It could be like, okay, our major house bills are 50-50, but he still pays for all our vacations. Or if he's making X amount, I'm at Y, he's going to contribute more than me, but without the idea of constantly counting who
Mhm.
contributed what, right? Money shouldn't be something that separates you guys. It should be a means to you achieving your goals, and how they handle money is very, very important. And that, I think, I know red flag isn't a term you like, but that is something that's going to signal whether or not you guys are going to be compatible when it comes to long-term goals, if you don't agree on finances.
Yeah, somebody said something. I can't remember what it was, but I was reading something. I think it was today, but like, something about like picking a partner or picking a financial partner is going to be one of the biggest decisions of your life too, because it's true. Like, you're not just like cruising through life together. There's a lot of big things that come in, whether it's buying a house, having children, going on vacations, things like that. And so like, you want to be clear from like day one, whatever day one is, about like what your expectations essentially are, and like what you're expecting from the other person as well too. We're all like, again, we're all career oriented women. We can pay for our own bills. And I like that way that you put it, that like, it's almost kind of like going on a date with me is like me paying for it essentially, because you're not just getting my looks or like that. You're also getting my company, and my company comes with like valuable conversations. It comes with me like going out of my way and effort to like spend time with you or get to know you, because you know that women ask a lot of questions on dates, and then we kind of keep the conversation for the most part going, I think. But yeah, I like the way that you put that as well too. Just that like the pride, like me coming is how I'm paying for it.
Yeah. I also think like as someone who's also actively dating right now, I don't like it when I have to pay for my date. Like if I pay for myself or for my date, I'm not going on a second date. This is me personally. So I think just setting your own standards or boundaries around that up front. And at least for me, I know like if I'm like I can provide for myself, but it's like more fun if you do it for me. So I don't know, like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of men out there that are like, "Oh, I want a housewife. I want a housewife." But I'm like, "But you don't have a house." So like, why am I how am I supposed to be a housewife out here?
I want to relate it back to one of our earlier sections. We talked about
Yeah.
independence and on having walls. A lot of women think that I should like go 50-50
Yes.
in the beginning because I can do it and I want to show that I'm proving my value in this relationship. But if men really truly want a woman who leans into her feminine, that does include paying for our dates.
It's like
I
kind of
was
being
just,
taken care
yeah,
of in this way, right? Like, it's like you're taking care of me. Like, even if you're just getting to know me or we're going on our first few dates, like I think the guy should pay on the first date regardless, no matter what we're doing. But like, yeah, after, I think I've been on dates where like the guy pays for the first one, the second one I offer, or like I will, because I'm like, like you can pay for the last one. And the third one we can figure out like what that's gonna be like. But like, I think that it's like it's like being courted. I want to be taken care of too. Like, I don't want to have to always be like in this space where like I always have to take care of myself too. Like, that's the whole reason why I'm trying to date, is because I'm trying to find a partner who can also take care of me.
Along that, we have another audience question. So she's saying, probably varies on person to person, but how do we evaluate on what it's okay to compromise on? Because obviously nobody is perfect.
So I have to read that.
Mhm.
She said it probably varies based on person to person, but how do we evaluate what we can compromise on? No one is perfect either.
Yeah, did somebody talk about red flags? Is this kind of going a little bit
That's
into
the
that?
next one.
Okay.
That's our topic four, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I mean, so if we're relating it to dating, I think this goes right back to like knowing yourself and being intentional about like what you're looking for if we're talking about dating, right? So like red flags, I know we're gonna get into it, but like, like maybe I'm not gonna compromise on the fact that I need a partner who is physically affectionate. And that's something that I'm not willing to give up, right? So negotiables and then non-negotiables are really important when you're dating, because you want to make sure that you're not like getting rid of things that are true to you or and that feel valuable to you. And there's always going to be things that you can like alter or adjust to. So like, yes, if they don't, I don't know, make 300K, I'm just bullshitting here, guys, a year, like that might be something I'm willing to flex on because it's something that isn't as important because everything else sort of kicks in, right? But like, I think it's important to figure out like what is a negotiable and a non-negotiable for you. Is it okay that they're family oriented? Is it okay that they're not family oriented? Is that something that's going to bother you like in the long run? I think those are things that are probably really important.
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and transition to the fourth topic, just in the interest of time? So, our fourth topic is about emotional safety, boundaries, and red flags. We talked earlier during our pre-call that like discernment is key. So like being able to know when something is wrong is really important, but so is not overcorrecting. We also don't want to, you know, assume bad intent or not give somebody a second chance to kind of really prove who they are. So I think we're back to Vaidhi. I think let's start with you. How can women differentiate between a true red flag versus just their fear of vulnerability?
Yeah, I think we've been kind of harping on this topic of just you have to do the work and do a lot of recognition of this isn't what works for me. I think then, you know, maybe not making enough money cannot be like a huge red flag, or the real flag could be the fact that they are not motivated and they're not ambitious, and redefining what like Bila was mentioning as your non-negotiables. And so we have to be a little bit true to, if you want the ultimate, like best partnership, you're going to have to do a little bit of work and do these pros and con lists and then see, I think there's another prompt that I use where it's like the 9 questions you ask after you come back from a date. And a lot of that is reflecting on how did they make me feel? Was I excited? Was I bored? Certain questions you have to ask yourself so you recognize and do a lot of like self-awareness and understanding like, is there a pattern? Do I always go for this guy that lives an adventurous life or makes a lot of money? Is money really important for me? And is uh their communication behavior important for me? And I feel like you have to start to do a little bit of digging, a little bit of pros and cons. You have to do a list of some sort that's different than the checklist that you have and see like if this was, if I dealt with this trait for 10 years of my life, would I be okay with it at the end of the 10 years? Or if I was, with this person for the rest of my life and they did this, like, am I okay with that? And I think you have to take a step back to do it and say, like, these are truly the red flags that bother me. And I think a lot of times my friends also always told me that I was picky. So a couple of years ago, I made my list and I shared it with them, and they were like, "You aren't picky." And I'm like, "I know, because I want a good guy." At the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you, yes, I would love a 6 foot man. I would love someone that is taller than me and makes more money than me. But what I value is someone with high intelligence, emotional intelligence, someone that has a very good ethical and moral compass, and someone who is going to continue to pick me every day. And like that's all that it is. And I think we over, and like what rather you're saying, we do overcorrect, and I think we overcomplicate this a lot. We're so used to this, not just Bollywood, I think mainstream media, just the cultural around us. I talk about this on one of the episodes, is pretty privilege is a real thing. I don't think we talk about what that really is and like how it shows up in our day-to-day life. The more attractive you are, the more you get away with in life. The more and it's more so in women, is just the more you don't have to work and build a character behind a pretty face, I think you show up terribly in society. And I will always live on that stance. So I think we get jaded by what's in front of us. And it's like, no, that's okay. They continue to lie to me, that's okay. Like maybe he was just, you know, we start making excuses for our partner. And that's like, that should be the red flag of you're continuing to defend your partner in the early stages when you should be doing a little bit more work and saying like, no, 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 stop right there. This is not going to work for me. But I think the way that you prevent canceling them too early is having that conversation.
Mm.
And I think one or two really strong, dating, we can't even call it a situationship or relationship, but whatever that was like, right? When you're getting to know someone, when it was really real was when we took that conversation and worked through it very, very early on. And I don't know if, Sadhana or Payal could agree, but those early conversations where you're going through things, compromising in a way, and figuring out how to correct your behavior is better than being like, no, this is a red flag for me. Maybe they don't come from the same financial background as you, but are they making changes? Are they showing up? Are they willing to change for you? That's a huge thing from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it goes back to effort, right? Like, what does the effort kind of look like? But also, like, what's the like? Is it always going to be like this? Is it something that's changeable? Red flags also too for me are like how somebody treats you. Like, are they dismissive of you? Do they listen to you? Like those things I think are much more important to focus on rather than like, oh, like he may be 5'9" or like, like he doesn't work out. Like, okay, well, great. I don't work out all the freaking time either, but like I get up and move my body whenever I can, right? Like, yeah, those are important things if you're looking to connect with somebody, but like I think the red flags really come from just like how you feel, like how somebody treats you. Like, are they disrespectful to you? Are they, communicative to you? Are they empathetic towards you? Those things weigh so much more than physical appearance or hobbies or activities or things like that. So what? They don't have a lot of friends. Like, does that really do anything? Like, how often do you actually even get to see your friends now? Like, I think it's just weighing out what's important and what's not, especially if you're intentionally trying to date and trying to find someone for a long-term partner. You're not going to press so much importance on those things as you would on how they're going to be as a valuable partner, because this is who you're going to spend most of your time with in your life with.
Mhm.
Something that we talked
Mhm.
about on the pre-call is like the ick, right? It's so the
Yeah.
women these days are so quick to find some minor little flaw and be like, nope, I'm done with him. And that's just a result of modern dating because they know I can open up this app at any day and pick one of 10 guys. So we
Yeah.
do understand that there's a lot of choice or options for us, but then are we actually choosing what's important when we're evaluating this person? Or is it because he had a piece of food on his mouth while he was talking to me? Forget the amazing conversation you had.
Yeah.
That's all you can focus on.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And I don't
Fatima, you
know
were
about a
saying.
lot of people too, but like me, like I don't like to like if you're on apps and stuff, like I don't like to date multiple people at the same time because I feel like it doesn't allow me to like really get to know somebody one on one. Like if I really like this guy, like I want to go on a few dates with him to like really get to know him and like really see like how I'm feeling about it. But like I don't want to go on like dates with like two, three, four guys because it's taking away from like my intent of like really trying to get to know somebody. And I know everyone is different, which is okay because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. But I also think that that kind of gets rid of the whole ick feeling because nobody's perfect. Like I'm sure there's things about me that somebody does not like or finds cringy, but like is that going to prevent you from wanting to get to know me because I don't know, don't wear makeup, or if I don't, if I use this fork instead of that spoon, like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I think that it just kind of gets rid of the whole ick thing. I think we're all we are very quick to phase people out for one thing that might seem minor in the moment, but like I think you really have to ask yourself, like, oh, how is that really going to impact me if we get into a relationship? How is that going to really impact me if we're in a long-term relationship?
Yeah, I think it's also like for me, like a red flag is like consistent, like harmful behavior, like it's a pattern of lying,
Mm,
disrespect, emotional manipulation, them constantly violating your boundaries. Where like a fear of vulnerability is like maybe a fear of the relationship, maybe you're overthinking things or ruminating or have your own hesitations. And for me, it's like writing it out in a journal, talking to a therapist, a friend, a coach, a mentor, is something that's really helpful. And just being able to reflect on it afterwards, because sometimes when I'm in it in the moment, I don't notice it until after when I'm reflecting on it.
There's also a difference of like fearing vulnerability and a red flag too, because like if you haven't done the work and you've been in plenty of unhealthy relationships and you haven't done the work to to heal from those relationships, you're going to consider a lot of things red flags that may not actually be red flags. They may actually be you being fearful of being hurt, or you being fearful of being betrayed, or you being fearful of showing up in your authentic way because someone could take advantage of that, or just putting yourself like sort of out there for anyone to kind of like come and grab and do whatever they want with you. And so I think that if you haven't really done the work you're going to find yourself maybe picking some things that you would consider red flags are not actually red flags and more a mirror of you not doing the work that you need to heal from whatever experiences that you've had in the past. And I think that's a big part of, again, dating being a mirror to yourself is just learning more so about yourself.
Absolutely. All right, I'm sorry to race through this, but in just the interest of time, I want to make sure that we have room for Q&A at the end. Our last topic is kind of like, the overarching theme for today. How do we redefine what partnership looks like or should look like? If we removed timelines and pressure and cultural expectations and everything, if you had to boil it down, what does true partnership look like? And I think, Bile, we'll start with you. What does true partnership look like if it's healthy and aligned in today's world?
Like what characteristics are in a healthy partnership, kind of?
Yeah. So let's say you're not rushing because you need to have children, or you're not rushing because I'm matching for med school and I need to like get married before so my partner can come with me. Like if it's just any time doesn't matter, I'm just selecting my perfect person. We have some divorcees in the audience as well, right? Like people who are like, okay, I'm getting married this time around for different reasons and not necessarily build a family, it's for other. So what would a real true partnership entail that we should be
Oh,
looking for?
yeah, like respect, of course, like good communication. I always say partnerships are about a team, like team effort. So like if I'm on a football team or a basketball team or a cricket team, whatever, like what am I looking for in my team, like my teammates, right? Like I'm looking for loyalty, I'm looking for trust, I'm looking for good communication because that's what's going to essentially make us thrive. I think those are all pretty important things. Love, affection, patience, um, curiosity too, like to be curious, to like constantly wanting to know about me and to continue to want to know more about me, because just because I'm here and I might be settled, like it doesn't mean that there's not more about me that's going to come. Like you should want to know and you should want to be curious about getting to know me like later in life as well too. Value probably is really important as well too. Like my life is already valuable, so like I want to know like what value are you going to bring to my life. And so again, these things are just important. I don't know if I answered your question. It feels like I did, but
Yeah. And Sadhana, what mindset shift is important when we're trying to attract this right partner?
Um, I think it depends on the person. I think for a lot of women, because we've been talking about women who are, hyper independent, I think just being willing to receive, knowing that you're willing to receive healthy love, um, and whatever, like all the good that the universe has to offer you, and also knowing that you're worthy and that you matter and your needs matter right now and also in a relationship as well, and that they deserve to be met.
Yeah. And lastly, Vaidehi, how can women pursue love without feeling like they're chasing or waiting to be picked?
Hmm.
It's a tough question. I think we've kind of honed in on that topic of like it being intentional is like the first thing. And you have to realize your self-worth and where you stand on, I don't want to center men, or I don't want to just compromise for this person because my parents are on my back. I truly deserve that my perfect partner exists. And I think manifesting that and understanding the right timing, the right place, and the right person will show up is a lot to do with it. And I think you sacrifice a lot of time as a person who is 36 still looking for my husband. And I think you also have to defend yourself amongst cultural expectations that still exist of why you're not married. And that comes at that cost, but it also is maybe preventing me from getting my first divorce, or maybe preventing me from a really toxic relationship, or protecting me. All of this is, it's someone else's plan and it's not mine. And I think if you understand that, um, you stand true to your core, like what Bila was talking about, what you want in a healthy and aligned relationship. You want to be, a lot of people talk about being a power couple, but they don't really want to do the work behind it, or they don't really want to, pick a partner based on, no one has an idea what Jay-Z and Beyonce do on a day-to-day basis, but everybody wants to be Jay-Z and Beyonce. And it's like, you don't know half the, what you see is the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more beyond that. And as I'm sure Bio sees this with couples counseling, there's so much work that couples have to do to make their relationship work. And I think we talk about relationships a lot. And Viola, I know you said friendships don't matter. If so, people, that's like a red flag. It's definitely a red flag for me, mostly because I think if you don't have healthy relationships with friendships in your life, that's kind of the basic thing, then I don't know what you're going to be able to. And maybe I just haven't experienced it enough. Sometimes people are, their best friend is each other. But for me, I feel like I would want you to have had, maybe you didn't have the luxury of dating and you don't have a lot of relationship experience, but you do have these great friendships that you value and show up for on a day-to-day basis. That makes me trust that you and I are going to be able to build something. And so sometimes it's just that. And are you going to be able to do the work? And are you going to be able to show up for me every single day? So until you
Oh,
find that, I feel like I do think that you make up a timeline. I hate to say that, and sorry, one more thing is I hate to think, and I used to do this a couple of years ago, is like maybe I just find someone and they hit 75% of my true list. Not the imaginary 6 foot guy that I want, but 75% maybe I just give in because it's too late now. But I've shifted that mindset in the last couple of years because I truly believe in destiny and I truly believe that when the time is right, that person is going to show up. And maybe it never happens. And I've accepted that reality as well. And I don't know if that's the most uplifting thing, but that's the realist, most honest thing that has come to my life at the age of 36.
Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing. If you don't mind hanging on a little bit longer, we have some audience questions, and I'd love for you all, whoever feels deeply or wants to kind of jump in and comment on it. So the first question we have is, how do you navigate trying to date a busy and less communicative guy, trying to differentiate interest and just too busy to reply messages versus somebody who's actually phasing you out?
first of all, nobody is too busy to freaking reply because we are on our phones 24/7. So like don't give me that bullshit that you were such a busy day at work or like that you were whatever, like you were out and you didn't look at your phone. That's bullshit. Like if you are intentionally trying to get to know me, then like you make an effort. And it's how hard is it to just like text someone and just be like, hey, I'm having a really busy day at work. I may not talk to you for a few hours, but I'll try my best to like text you later tonight. Like it's really not that complicated to be able to do that. So no, he gotta go. He gotta go. Sorry.
Yeah, some of the busiest and most successful people I know always respond to me like that. So there's no excuse to
And there's
not.
plenty of ways to message somebody. So if you have an Apple phone, like if an iPhone, then you can do it through your computer, you can do it through your iPad, you can do it through your freaking watch. Like, don't come up with these bullshit excuses that you're too busy to text me. Like, it's fine. If you're not interested, just own up to it and just say that you're not interested.
I
Yeah.
think
Or
one
say
of the
like,
things,
yeah,
oh, go
if
ahead,
even if they're
Saga.
just like, oh, can we just talk over the phone tonight? That's easier. That's fine too. But also that kind of comes to your needs as well. Like, what do you want?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was
Right?
just gonna say, I think like being very open and honest of this is what I need is someone who communicates with me. And I'm the person that will say that out loud and say, I would really like to hear from you, or if you could just keep me updated, being honest. And
Yeah.
that comes with this also this thing that this may not work out. So you have to be pretty confident with sending that message of like,
Mhm.
hey, you need to respond to me. I might be
Mhm.
laying in the field, like unconscious for 3 days. You cannot not respond to me.
Mhm.
Um, and then you got to think about it. That's what you want from someone as a communicative partner. And so, yeah, being very honest and asking for that is step one. And if they don't do it, let it go. Let that man go.
It also
My
shows you
number one,
how interested they are into you, right? Like, because like
Yes.
if you can't just like text me and tell me that you're busy, then you're not thinking about me, one, and you're not like interested, you're not like letting me know that I'm valuable in your life, right? Like, so if you're not gonna
Yeah.
text me and just tell me like, hey, I'm having a busy day, or like I'll text you once I get home, or I'll give you a call later, like, where do I really stand in this anyway then?
I gotta say
especially in the
one
early
more.
phases, be okay to let the guy go.
Yep.
You don't know him from Adam. Like
No.
it's
Yep.
okay. He's probably not the love of your life. Let's go find somebody else. Go
Let's
ahead.
find somebody who will communicate.
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say, as a someone who's a really bad rather, I never respond to your emails, but sometimes I just get busy. But I think like you have to understand that the the conversation has to be stimulating. As
Mm-hmm.
someone who doesn't respond to a lot of guys, I'm not going to continue to say, "Hello, how's it going? Here's my weekend. What are you doing today?" Like you got to give something. And if I don't respond to you, I'm not like what Bio was saying, I'm not interested. And so sometimes it could be that, like from as a woman, it is that. There's nothing here for me to respond. But then I've also stayed up late to talk to someone, even on my busiest days, because the conversation was great. The chemistry was great, and the person was great. So
It's also the foundation though too, right? Like if you can't text me the bare minimum, let me know that you're busy or having a busy day at work or a busy day in general, then like what am I going to expect then moving forward when we're actually dating? Like let's say you're on a trip
right.
with a guy or oh, sorry, you're on a trip like with your friends and then you're barely texting me, then like that's not going to work for me either too. Like I need to know that like the communication is going to be where I need it to be at the standard that I need it to be. I'm not going to accept anything less. Let that man
We
go.
got a juicy question around red flags and boundaries. So, how do you deal with guys wanting to meet at their house on the second or third, or pretty early on in dating? Or maybe guys who tell you right up front, physical touch or cuddling is the way to get to know them better. She said, it makes me cringe a little bit. More than a little bit.
Yeah,
Ladies,
like
what are your thoughts on that?
what the heck? I don't like meeting people at their house in general until like we've been dating for a little bit of time, like at least like a month, maybe 2 months. Like, why are we meeting at your house, first of all? Because I know what you're trying to do. One, and two,
Mhm.
like I'm okay with someone telling me that like physical touch is their love language, and cuddling, like I'm okay with that, but like you're not gonna expect that out of me, especially because I ain't coming to your house anyway. So like if you're telling me that you like affection and physical affection, great, good for you. But like I'm not planning on doing that anytime soon. Like it's okay for you to know that. But this sounds like he's just trying to hook up. I don't like that. I mean, unless you're into it, then great, good for you. But I don't really like that. And how are you gonna get to know me at your house too? Like, what are we gonna do? Sit on your couch, cuddle, and watch a movie? Like, no, I want to court me, take me out. Like, do you see
It
this?
is straight up for hooking up. That is and I would say,
Yeah.
as you're dating out here, ladies, like that is the code word, right? Like if you're telling me to meet at your house, that's the code word. Like that's what they
Yeah.
want. So
But I think
move
again, if
on.
you know your boundaries and you know what your values are, and that's something that does not align with who you are and what you're looking for and what you're seeking, then you already are going to know that this is not going to be someone who's going to be worth my time, right? Like I remember I was on like the Hinge app and like this guy was like, I asked him, I was like, oh, like what are you looking for? And he was like, oh, like I can't commit to like a long-term relationship or a relationship in general. And I was like, okay, but I am looking for a relationship. So like this isn't going to go anywhere. It was really nice talking to you. Great, cool. And then he just kept pressing and was like, "Oh, you don't want to meet up for a drink? Like, I feel like it would be so much fun." No, because I literally just told you what I'm looking for is completely different from what you're looking for. But again, if you know what you're seeking, then you're not going to want to do things that somebody else is going to want to do. Like that message is just going to be like, absolutely not.
Next question we have is it realistic to give up on physical attraction criteria if you aren't attracting the kind of partners you're drawn to? It seems like nobody wants to give up on the attraction piece. So she's asking like, if is it realistic for me to like not want the 6 foot guy or not want the six pack guy if everybody who is 6 foot and six pack is a douchebag?
I think attraction comes in two different ways, and I always talk about it's personality versus physical. I think like we were talking about, you have to know what you're looking for, and I think if you're okay with your man going bald and still being attracted to them in 25 years, like you're not going to deal with that. You're going to deal with their personality for 25, 30 years. And so like once you understand that you have to find your person attractive, and that can come in different ways. Um, been attracted to a bald man. I've been attracted to a shorter man. I've been attracted to a man outside of my race because they had an amazing personality or they showed up in ways. And so like, yeah, initially your brain's going to go to think that this isn't a great looking person. But again, we talked about pretty privilege. A lot of times you forget that behind that face or behind that person, the attraction blanket that they have could not be your person. And so when you shift that mindset of just being open to other types of people and giving people chances, I think with dating cultures and swiping culture, I don't think we give people chances. And that doesn't mean you have to give up on that because you will regret being like, well, he wasn't even that good looking and I gave him a chance. It's like stand firm on what you're looking for and put your eggs in that basket.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that you don't have to give it up realistically. Like I think that you can, still want something, because physical attraction also feeds like intimacy, sexual attraction, things like that. I also think there's other things that make up physical attraction. Like if you feel emotionally connected to someone, you might find them so much more physically attractive because they're a good listener, they're understanding, and they're empathetic. They always check in, right? I don't think you have to give it up, but I don't think that you have to. I don't think that you have to give it up, but like it's also okay to be a little loose around it too, because if you're intentionally trying to find a lifelong partner, say this guy or girl that you're dating has everything that you're seeking except the fact that they're 6'3" and not six, like they're 6'1" and not 6'3". I don't know. Like, is that really going to be a deal breaker for you? So I think you don't have to give it up and still want what you want. But just ask yourself, is it going to take away from you potentially having a really wonderful relationship with somebody?
Fabian, do you want to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I just agree with everyone. They just hit
Okay.
it. Yeah. It's just, I think
I,
it's like being open-minded, but also, having certain, if you have a standard of like, okay, this is what I want, you want to be attracted to the person you're with, you're going to be with them for the rest of your life, right? So, yeah.
I'll just add that, as Bile said, dating is a mirror. So make sure that you're also bringing these same qualities to the table, attraction or not, regardless, right? Bringing those same qualities if that's what you're expecting to find in a partner. Final question, ladies, and just to be respectful of everybody's time, we will be sharing the contact information of everybody on the panel and Single to Shadi and what we can do for you if you guys need additional, if you want to chat through this. We're also going to have this on the YouTube so you guys can kind of go through it and then listen to the ladies' advice and really kind of like study it and incorporate that into your lives. But I think this last question really does encapsulate what our conversation was about tonight. And I think it's a good one to end on. So she's asking for your secret sauce. What is advice for us to shift our mindset, especially after doing years of online dating, meeting different men, yet the same men over and over? How do we avoid burnout? And how do I keep myself motivated and positive that, yes, this is still going to happen for me?
I have a lot of empathy for that message. A lot of empathy because I get it. Like I have so many clients who are single and they've been out trying to put themselves out there after all these terrible relationships. And they're just like, it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. And I'm getting so burnt out and just like exhausted. And I just feels hopeless almost. I have a lot of empathy for this one because I get it. I think we've all been in those situations where we're just like, damn, like when am I going to find somebody? Or like, how long is it going to take for me to find the partner that I'm looking for when I'm doing all the work? Or I know that I've taken time out to recognize what a healthy partnership is. I have to read it properly, but I just wanted to say I had a lot of empathy for that one.
I think for me, something that's been helpful and for my clients as well is sometimes when you're like dating and it's like you're really set on the goal of finding your partner, that can lead to burnout as well because you're like, it's not happening, it's not working. But I think if you're like going to maybe events or classes or things that you're already interested in, and then you happen to meet someone there and it works out, I think that's a really great way with of quote unquote dating without necessarily getting burnt out because you're going into spaces that you're already interested in. And then if you happen to meet someone, then like great, but you're still socializing and maybe you'll make a friend out of it too.
Oh, I think I remember what I was going to say to that. I was also going to say that one thing that I've been trying to tell myself, like after getting divorced, is like, I'm kind of just like, my life is already pretty valuable. And so I'm seeking someone who's going to add value to it. So, like, at the end of my life, whatever that is, if I find a partner along the way that also makes, adds value to my life, great, I'll be really happy. But if I don't, I'm still going to live a meaningful life. I'm still going to travel. I'm still going to hang out with my friends. I'm still going to do all the experiences that I want to do for myself. So, I think in those moments where you're feeling burnt out because you've been going on these dates or you've been putting yourself out there, you're going to all these events, like it's also okay to take some breaks too and give yourself other experiences. So whether it's with your friends or going on like now I've been seeing like a lot of women are doing these like travel like meetups with like I think they're like on Instagram. I've been seeing dose of travels. I don't know what it is. But they're
Yeah.
giving themselves different experiences, and it's all women who are in the same boat as them, single, like looking for partners, haven't had much luck, or like, trying to put themselves out there, trying to redefine who they are. So I always say, like, if you're feeling burnt out from dating, it's okay. Give yourself a break and give yourself a new experience. Give yourself something that doesn't have to necessarily be romantic. It can be something platonic. It could be a new hobby. It could be whatever it is, but like give yourself a little bit of a break to take some time to like really seek, like, to refresh almost or reset.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for that. Thank you, audience, for your amazing participation. I know we could talk for so much more about this. I also saw a comment in there. Let's do this for men. We actually have done this in the past. If you want to check out our YouTube channel and see some of our previous recordings, and we definitely have a fun men's workshop, or it's not just for men, but another kind of workshop that's open coming up soon. So definitely follow our amazing panelists. I just want to say one more time, Vaidehi, Sadhna, and Bio, thank you, ladies, so much for taking your time to share your advice, your expertise, and your wisdom with us. And it's just the beginning. Dating is a journey, but how that you progress around that journey and how fun that journey is, it really does take a lot of inner work and knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. And all of you ladies offer that in your own work, in your own capacity. So as I mentioned, we will be sending this deck out to all attendees, and it's going to be available on YouTube. But I do encourage you to follow our panelists, really show them that you enjoyed the night tonight and what they had to offer. And if anybody has any questions or want to learn more about Single to Shadi, definitely reach out to myself, or I'm just going to last slide here quickly. You can contact us online, send us your questions, and really, we're just here to make sure that dating is hard. We know that, but we want to make sure that it's suitable and a fun experience for you, and everybody reaches the goals, whatever they look like for them. So thank you all so much again for your time. Vaidehi, Payal, and Sadhna, you guys were amazing. I really appreciate you. And audience members, thank you guys as well. Have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
you.